You know what the most dangerous lie you've ever been told is? That time heals a broken heart. That's it. That's the lie. Because I know guys, grown men, successful men, men who've had their lives together in every aspect, who are still emotionally stuck on a woman that they lost some 2, 3, 4, maybe even 5 years ago. They're stuck still checking her Instagram, still flinching when they hear a song she used to play, still subconsciously comparing every new woman they meet to this particular woman. Time didn't seem to heal anything. Time just put a lid on it. So today I'm going to show you the one thing that actually does heal a broken heart. If you're ready, let's get into it. Jessica OS here. Welcome to my channel. So in this video, we're going deep. I'm going to walk you through exactly why most men never fully recover from a breakup. What's actually happening in your brain and your identity when a relationship ends. And most importantly, the single most powerful cure that nobody in this space wants to talk about, honestly, because basically it's not comfortable and it doesn't come in a supplement bottle. If you've ever been carrying something heavy since a relationship ended, I need you to stay with me through this entire video because the shift I'm going to describe has changed the trajectory of my life and the lives of many men I've coached. Let's get into it. Why men stay broken longer than they should. Every honest man who has been through a real breakup already knows losing a relationship doesn't just hurt your heart, it attacks who you are, your core, your identity. When you're with a woman you genuinely love, you start building a version of yourself around that relationship, and understandably so. Your routines change, your social life shifts, your long-term vision, where you see yourself living, what your weekends look like, how many kids you're going to have, what you're working towards professionally, all that, all right, quietly gets woven into this shared picture of the future. And so when it ends, it's not just her that's gone, it's the version of you that existed inside that relationship. And I get it. That's what nobody really accounts for. You see, you're not just grieving the person who left. You're grieving an entire constructed identity. Most men respond to this in one of three ways. And sorry to say, none of them are the right move. The first is distraction. You throw yourself into work, the gym, new women, anything that keeps you moving fast enough that you don't have to feel the pain. The second is isolation. You go cold, you disconnect, you convince yourself that not needing anyone is the same thing as being strong. The third, and honestly the most dangerous, is obsession. You replay the relationship on a loop, trying to find the exact moment it broke, as if understanding it completely will somehow turn things around or undo everything. And I want you to hear this clearly. All three of these responses are just your nervous system trying to protect you from the pain that it doesn't know how to process. They're not necessarily signs of weakness, but they are signs that you've been handed the wrong tools for the job. What you're actually addicted to. When you fall in love with someone, your brain literally rewires itself. Oxytocin, dopamine, serotonin, these chemicals build a neurological pathway around that specific person. Let's go a little deeper. When the relationship ends, your brain doesn't just move on gracefully. What happens is it goes into withdrawal. This is not a metaphor. Studies in neuroimaging have shown that the same regions of the brain activated by cocaine withdrawal are activated during a romantic breakup. Do your research. Your brain isn't being dramatic. It is chemically, physiologically missing something that it's been conditioned to depend on, which means that when you can't stop thinking about her, you're not just being weak, you're being human. But, and this is critical, understanding why the addiction exists is not the same as curing it. You actually have to interrupt the pattern. That requires something most men have been conditioned to avoid. That thing is radical, deliberate self-confrontation. Not journaling your feelings over a candle, not calling your boys to vent for the 14th time. I mean, genuinely sitting down in silence and asking yourself this question with total honesty. Who was I before her? And who have I become because of her? Because the answer to that question contains both the wound and the medicine. Think about it. Most men can tell you everything about their ex-girlfriend and who she was. Her quirks, her love language, what made her tick, But ask that man who he is, what he stands for, what he's building, what makes him irreplaceable, and he goes quiet. That silence right there is the actual problem, the cure. All right, so here it is. The number one cure for a broken heart, and I mean a real lasting structural cure, not just a temporary painkiller, is the complete and deliberate reconstruction of your identity around a compelling personal vision. I told you weren't going to like it. But let me explain exactly what I mean, because this isn't a motivational video, okay? This is mechanics. When a relationship ends and you lose that co-constructed identity I described earlier, you're left with a vacuum. The thing about a vacuum is your mind will fill it with something, right? If you don't fill it intentionally, your mind fills it with her, with memories, with what ifs, with the version of the future you thought you were building together. And that is the loop that keeps men stuck for years. The cure is not to suppress that loop. The cure is to give your mind something bigger and more compelling to build towards until the old story no longer has enough room to run. This is what I call the identity rebuild, and it works in 3 deliberate movements. Let me share. The first movement is excavation. You have to go back and recover the parts of yourself that you abandoned or neglected during the relationship. The hobbies you stopped because she wasn't into them. The ambitions that you quietly scaled back on. The friendships you let go of. The dreams that felt selfish to pursue while you were trying to be present for her. The good news is these pieces of you didn't disappear. They went dormant, right? Excavating them is your first act of recovery. The second movement is vision. You have to build a clear, specific, non-negotiable picture of who you're becoming and what you're moving towards, not vague aspirations. A real North Star that gets you out of bed with purpose before any woman or any memory of one enters your mind. Men who have a mission don't stay broken. They get sharpened by the pain and move on. The third movement is execution. And this is where most men drop the ball because basically they understand the theory, but they don't enforce the discipline. You have to protect your rebuilding phase like it's sacred. What does that mean? It means real distance from anything that feeds the old pattern. Her social media, the playlists, the places you guys went to. I mean, not forever, but long enough for new neural pathways to form around your new identity instead of around your old grief. So, to reiterate, the cure is excavation, vision, and execution. Please don't forget this holy trinity. And if this is landing for you, do me a favor and hit subscribe right now, because this is the kind of conversation I have on this channel every single week and with every single video that I release. Real insights from men who are serious about growing. The real reason most men skip this. Now, I want to address the elephant in the room because some of you are listening to this and nodding, but inside you're resisting it. And I want to name exactly why. You see, the reason most men skip the identity rebuild, even when they understand it intellectually, is because basically rebuilding requires you to admit something very painful. It requires you to admit that some of the reasons the breakup hit so hard is because you had made her the center of something that should have been yours, your purpose, your daily meaning, your emotional anchor. And that is genuinely hard to look at. Because in this culture, you see, men are not really given the space to examine where they've been emotionally dependent without being made to feel ashamed of that situation, So instead, what do you guys do? You reframe the pain as evidence that she was extraordinary, or that the love was so rare, or that nobody else can compare to this girl that left you. And that reframe, as comfortable as it feels, keeps you trapped. It turns grief into a shrine instead of a launching pad. Let me be absolutely clear about what I'm not saying. I'm not saying the love wasn't real. I'm not saying that she wasn't great or that your pain isn't valid. What I am saying is that the degree to which another person's absence can stop your life is a direct measure of the degree to which you had outsourced your identity to the relationship. The kind of man who can love deeply, lose painfully, and still wake up the next morning building. That man is not made by luck. He's made by this exact process. Picture this. 6 months from now, you've done the work, you've rebuilt. You're in a new season, sharper, more grounded, more intentional than you've ever been. And you see her, maybe at some kind of event, maybe on someone's IG story, maybe just in passing thought. And instead of that familiar punch to your gut, there's just clarity, gratitude even for what she taught you about yourself. But that's what happens on the other side of this process. And it's available to every single man watching me right now. What to do starting today. So I want you to leave with something concrete, because this channel is about action, not just awareness, okay? Here is exactly how I want you to start today. First, do the excavation exercise, okay? I need you to sit down and write 3 answers to this question I'm about to put on the screen. What did I stop doing, stop pursuing, or stop being during that relationship that I actually want back? Just 3. Don't overthink it. Those 3 things become your first priority. Second, build the North Star statement. Write one single specific sentence describing who you're becoming and what you're building over the next 12 months. Not who you used to be with her, or not who you will be when you find someone new, who you are right now as a man. Moving forward with full ownership of your life. Now, what I need you to do after you've written that is to read it every morning before you look at your phone. Every morning, don't forget. Third thing, enforce the distance protocol. Whatever in your environment is feeding the old pattern, I need you to cut access to that thing for 90 days. Not because you hate her or you want to run from the pain. I need you to understand that you have to become a man who's serious about his own growth. And serious growth requires protecting your mental and emotional bandwidth like it's finite and valuable, because it is. Now here's the truth that I want you to carry out of this video. A broken heart is not a wound that needs to be waited out, okay? It's an invitation. A genuinely painful, genuinely transformative invitation to become the most grounded, most purposeful, most fully alive version of yourself that you've ever been. The men who answer that invitation don't just get over the breakup, they get beyond the version of themselves that made the breakup so devastating in the first place. That is the real cure. Not time or distraction, not the next woman, but you. Rebuilt on purpose with your own hands. Now go out and get it done. I hope you got value from this video. If you did, smash that like button so I can feel it in my heart, and definitely catch me on the next video on this channel. Jessica OS here. Thanks for watching and listening. I'll catch you in the next video. Cheers.